Hey guys, this is Mrs. Mbelli, and I'm going to go over with you guys a couple of things about the atomic structure review activity. We're mainly doing this activity because at the end of class we're going to take a CFA on atomic structure. And with this super long weekend, I'm figuring a lot of you forgot a lot of the things. So the first page is just the star periodic table, which you guys will be able to use on the CFA. And we'll go ahead and get started with the second page. So the second page is review notes. And I'm just going to zoom in so it's easier for everyone to see. It really doesn't matter what box that we start the notes in, but I'm going to just start with the electrons. So it says the electrons have a charge of -1, and that means that they are negatively charged. And then it wants to know how many electrons are in this atom, and it gives us a little key. But even if we didn't have a little key, we would know that the ones with the negative signs are electrons because we just said that electrons are negatively charged. So we can look on here and we can see a couple of things. First of all, we know that the electrons are negatively charged, so these ones with the negative signs. We also know that electrons are outside the nucleus, so they're outside the center, so that's going to be the ones on the rings. We also know that electrons are smaller than the other particles. We can see that because the electrons are the ones that don't really have any mass. So if I count those, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in here in this box, I'm going to put 6 electrons. Now, the next section is neutrons, and it says neutrons have a charge of, and we're going to put 0, because neutrons actually are not charged. So this means that they are neutral or no charge. Okay? How many neutrons are in this atom? And again, it gives us a little key, but even without the little key, we would know that the ones that didn't have anything on them are neutrons. Notice also that the neutrons are in the middle. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is 6. And then we have protons. Protons have a charge of +1. That means that they are positively charged. How many protons are in this atom? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 protons. Even if we didn't have the little key here, we would know that the ones that look like this are protons because, number one, they have the positive sign, and we know protons are positive, pp. Number two, they're in the middle in the nucleus. We know only protons and neutrons are in the nucleus. So the ones that have little positive sign have to be the protons. Okay, then we have the nucleus. The nucleus is made up of 2 types of particles. Those particles that are in the middle are going to be protons and neutrons. Okay, that's where all the mass is too. So all the mass of the atom is located in the middle, which is where the protons and neutrons are. This means it has an overall charge. So it does have an overall charge. It has 2 particles in there, protons and neutrons. The protons have a positive charge. The neutrons have a neutral charge, which means none. That means since there's no charge on the neutrons, its charge of the nucleus is basically based on the charge of the protons, which means it's going to be an overall positive charge. Okay, So it's an overall positive charge in the nucleus. That also means that the electron cloud is overall negatively charged. So that basically the electron cloud is made up of electrons, which means electrons have negative charge. So the overall cloud or rings are negatively charged. Then we're going to talk about the special electrons, okay? We're going to talk about the way we find the number of the valence electrons. So the number of valence electrons are found on a certain shell, and it's the outermost. So the valence electrons are found on the outermost shell of the atom. How many valence electrons are in this atom? Well, let's count them. Remember, we cannot count the shell closest to the nucleus. We only can count the last shell. It doesn't matter if the last shell is the first shell, the second shell, the third shell. Whatever the last shell is, by counting the electrons that are on that shell, we know the valence. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons on the outside shell. So on this one, the valence is 4. Okay, so now we have completed filling out the top notes. We're going to fill out some notes at the bottom. We're going to do the element box. So that top number is the atomic number. Remember, this is also located on your periodic table, so you will always have this. That big letter is called the chemical symbol. Okay. The name is the element name. And then we have the atomic mass. Okay, now we're going to fill out APE man. Remember, APE man stands for A equals P equals E. The A of that APE is atomic number. The P, well, what do we know that starts with P? Protons. So that's actually proton number. And E, what do we know that starts with E? Electron number. And then we have man. So man, actually the M stands for mass number, which is just the atomic mass rounded. So we use mass, the only time we use it is to find the N, the neutrons. So we can't have a piece of a neutron, that's not possible. So before we can use the mass to find neutrons, we actually have to round it. And then we take the atomic number and subtract it from the mass, and that gives us the neutrons. So I could say that, I could say ape man several different ways. You could say ape man if that helps you remember. Or you could just say, if I know the top number, that is protons and is electrons. They're all the same. For the bottom part, I could say for man, I could say man if that helps me remember. Or I could just say I take the big number and round it, subtract the small number, and that gives me neutrons. Okay? So, or said another way, I take the bottom number and round it, I subtract the top number, and I get neutrons. So that is the notes portion, the parts of an atom quick notes, which is the second page. And now I'm going to explain the rest of the assignment. Okay, so let me zoom out a little. Okay, so for the third page, this is vocabulary. The next 2 pages after that are the vocabulary review. And basically, on the first page, you're given the definitions, and you have to sort the words, the terms. So you're given the definitions and you have to sort the terms. So a positively charged subatomic particle located in the nucleus, that's a proton. A lot of these you'll be able to either figure out from your notes, even just your quick notes that we just did, or you could go back to your ISN pages for atomic structure. And then just sort the rest of them over here. So you should have one next to each definition at the end. Then the next part of the vocabulary review, you're going to use those words. So the only words you'll be using are these that are right here. So you'll use these words, only those words, to fill in the blanks on this passage. So start with reading the passage and then go back and fill in what you think which word makes sense in that blank. Then from the vocabulary review, we move on to the activity card review, and this has 2 pages as well. The first page is the instructions and some questions, and the second page is the actual activity. So it tells you right here in red, answer the questions and use the instructions on this page to complete the model on the next page. So you're going to answer questions here and use the instructions to complete this model. Okay, the figure on the activity page represents an atom. Use the labels given to identify the nucleus and electron cloud. So use these labels to identify, you'll drag them onto those parts of the atom. Where is the nucleus? Where is the electron cloud? Okay, so then it says identify the 3 subatomic particles and put the names in the box next to each particle. So these are the 3 subatomic particles, and you're going to tell me in this box which one is which. You should be able to figure that out just with the signs for the charge. Then it says use the subatomic particles to add 6 protons to the atom in their proper place. And then it has a question. Why do the protons have a positive symbol? So first of all, there's 2 parts to this question. You have to add the 6 protons to the atom in the correct place. And then you have to answer why do the protons have a positive symbol. Same thing on the next question, but for neutrons. Add 6 neutrons to the atom in their proper place. Why do the neutrons have no symbol? Then the next question says use the subatomic particles given to add 6 electrons in their proper place. And there's a couple of questions here that are important. It says how many electrons can each energy level hold? So I'm not talking about how many are going to be on this atom yet. I'm talking about how many can each level hold. Level 1 holds this many, level 2 holds this many. You type those in. If you don't know that, you should be able to look that up on your ISN pages or even with Google. How many electrons are present in each energy level? So this is how many are actually on your model. So that's the second question. So after you put the electrons on here, then you should know how many are in each level. This is level 1, the one closest to the nucleus, and level 2, the one furthest away. Remember that each level has to be completely full before you can put an electron in the next level. Then it asks, why do the electrons have a negative symbol? How does the size of the electrons compare to the size of the neutrons or protons? Is it bigger or smaller? Then using only the model, how can you figure out the identity of the atom that you built? Well, if you're using the model, then all you have to do is count the certain particles, because that certain particles determines the identity. Which particle was that? That if we counted it, it determined the identity, and it gave us a certain number on the periodic table. So if you count one of those 3 particles, that's the same as the top number. And now you have the top number on the element box and you can find the particle. What is the name of the atom that you built? What is the valence numbers? So how many electrons are on the outside shell? There's 2 shells. The second shell here is the outside. So how many electrons did you end up with on this outside shell? Then the last section says, make sure you answer the questions on the next page below the atom. So it's just saying, make sure you answer these questions. What is the atomic mass? Well, you can do that a couple of different ways. How did you get the answer? I want you to tell me how you did it. And then one limitation of this model. So that's going to be the activity card review, and then you're going to move on to the multiple choice review. So there's only 4 multiple choice questions, 2 on each page, and you're going to use these circles to circle the correct answer. For this one, number 1, you definitely should use a calculator. Please remember that I don't want you to miss a question just because you made a small math error. Several of you missed questions on the 8-man atomic math challenge just because of that. So please don't do that on the review or the quiz. Please use a calculator. The other 3 questions are just simple using your notes. And then we have the 8-man review activity. So the first 2 we're going to go through together, and then you'll do the rest of it yourself. So we have oxygen with the symbol O. So it gave us the name and the symbol on this one. And then it wants the atomic number. So I'm going to go back up here to my periodic table, and I'm going to find oxygen, which is right there. Okay, so the top number, the atomic number, is 8. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to put 8 in there. Now, it has 8-man right here. It even has it down here at the bottom. So atomic number is equal to protons. Okay, so that means I can fill out the protons now. And I can also fill out the electrons. I can't fill out the neutrons yet. Remember, neutrons are not necessarily always the same. Then to find the neutrons, I use mass, subtract atomic number equals neutrons. So mass, subtract atomic number. So this box, subtract this box. Or big number, subtract small number. And that gives me neutrons. So 16 minus 8 is 8. So there's that one. Now, on the next one, it doesn't give me the name or the symbol, but it does give me the atomic number. Well, if I know the number at the top, that's 7, then I know what it is. It's in nitrogen. So then I come back over here, and now I'm going to type in the name, nitrogen, and then I have the symbol in. Okay, now I can go back up and I can look back at nitrogen, and the mass is at the bottom. So the mass is 14.007. Now remember, I'm always going to want that rounded. I do not want the decimals because I'm going to be using that to find nitrogen or to find neutrons, and I can't have part of a neutron. Okay, so that's going to be 14. Sorry, guys. So that's going to be 14. So I have the atomic number, I have the protons, now I just need the neutrons. Well, APE tells me that the atomic number, the protons, and the electrons are all the same. So if I need electrons and I have atomic number and I have protons, then I already know electrons. I just need to type 7 in there. Okay, so you guys should be able to finish completing the rest of this chart. Guys, if you have completed this review activity and it is not time yet to take the quiz, you can work on some of the makeup work that you're missing. Check your grade in Skyward, and then work on any zeros that you have and turn them in. Remember, the last day for grades this 6 weeks is on Friday. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.